I'm Chris Miglino. I'm here at Sequire Spotlight. I am with David Harper from Geodrill, trading on the OTC under GEODF. Welcome. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming today. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about Geodrill. You guys are a big driller. Explain that for the audience that isn't the full mining audience, what it is that you guys do.
So Geodrill essentially provides mineral drilling services to the mining industry. Okay, so the first thing folks ask is, oh, you drill for oil. No, we don't drill for oil at all. We actually drill for gold, we drill for base metals, and we drill for EV metals. And we do that in essentially Africa, and we do that in South America.
So people hire you to drill for them. So you're not taking the risk on the project. You're getting paid to do the drilling.
We are being paid by the mining. Our customers are mining companies, intermediate companies, and junior exploration companies. But for the most part, mining companies. So mining companies essentially pay us to provide the drill samples for what will eventually give them the data that they need to competently mine.
Okay, and then once they get that data, do you continue to drill for them?
It's a good question. So the thing with mineral drilling, as opposed to, say, for instance, oil exploration drilling, is that mineral drilling has the gift of giving. It never stops. Minerals exist in tiny particle form, and in order to prove up or have the confidence to mine, you have to do a lot of drilling. You need to make a lot of drilling to make a discovery. Then you need to do a lot of drilling to de-risk the project to give you the confidence to spend a significant amount of money to build the infrastructure to do the mining. But then beyond that, once the mining operation begins, and it might have, say, for instance, a 10 or 12-year mine life, as they mine their first year of reserves, they then have to replace. So that's replenishment drilling. Does that make sense? Yes. And so we have projects that we started drilling on for junior exploration companies that were discoveries then that we're still drilling on today, 25 years later. Never left sight. Now those projects,
that's the recurring revenue.
That's the recurring revenue part of the business.
Okay, fascinating. And I would imagine that you own all kinds of equipment to do this. Do you? How do you move this stuff all over the world, or are you focused just? I noticed Egypt and Peru. Do you pick these locations? And I'm sure I'm not covering all of them, but do you pick these locations because that's where you have the equipment that can do this? Because it's got to be a fortune to move these things around, if even.
Not as bad as you think. So these are mobile drilling rigs. They weigh about 50 ton, and you move them around on the back of a truck. So we have a fleet of a big transportation fleet that literally moves the rigs from job to job when they need to be moved, and back to the base and down to the port, and then on to a new country where they're picked up by another truck and transported to site. But the key to this business is putting drill rigs on site and having them never leave site. That's where the recurring revenue part kicks in. So as I was explaining, we have some projects where we started drilling discovery holes 25 years ago, and that company went on and had success and raised the money, got bought by an intermediate company. That intermediate company then drilled for the next 8 years, proving up the deposit, only to be bought by a tier 1 mining company that started mining the operation. And today we are actually operating at that site with 14 drills. 14 of our drills are on the site, and having 14 rigs located in one location is a very efficient way of running an operation.
Tell me, how competitive is the drilling business itself? How when you go to get a project, how many other drillers are there competing for those projects?
There's usually 3 or 4 serious contenders on any bid. Everything that we do is on a competitive bid situation. Large mining companies have procurement departments and procurement managers, and they basically put works out to tender, and we come forward with our proposal, as do our competitors. And our bid to win ratio is one of the highest in the industry. It sits in the 90% quartile.
And so you have good foresight into what's coming up. Because you're entering into these agreements, they're longer term contracts. So give us an idea of what the pipeline looks like on your contract side. What are you seeing?
Well, it's a good question. So if you look at this company, well, if we go back to when we first, using LD Micro as an example, when we first presented to LD Micro in LA 3 years ago, we had just signed a bunch of new contracts. And if you look at what occurred back then, we had an impressive contract haul, sort of in the order of $100 million in contracts, which added to existing works that we actually had. And that caused our company, if you look at the cadence of revenue growth, we tend to move in 3 to 5 year waves. So that caused us to move from the 80 million revenue, USD, into the 100s. And we started with a 115 when we were projecting 100. The following year was 138 when we were projecting 125. The most recent year, 2023, we actually came off, and there's a reason for that. One of the West African countries that we operated in, we decided to exit, and so that was a large market for us. And because of that decision to exit, which was a strategic decision based on just security concerns that we had for that particular country, we saw our revenues come on. Having had those rigs now become available has given us the opportunity to go out and tender new work. And actually what's very topical, or what will become very topical shortly, is that we've actually just repeated one of our most successful contract signing and bidding seasons in the history of this company. Similar to what, if you know, as I say, when we first presented at LD a couple of years ago, we had a plus $100 million contract signing bidding season, and we've literally just done that again.
So now,
which will set up the next wave of, you know,
next 3 to 5 year cycle.
If you look, you know, we've been growing our revenues on a, you know, CAGR basis at, call it, 10% per annum. If you look at where we ended up through the last successful haul, and you add the current successful haul to that, then effectively we're going to just, you know, keep in a trajectory in the, you know, that'll just keep moving northwards.
So the exit of Africa, or
of one of the countries, that we operated in Africa.
Okay, so one of the countries, now that equipment is available and it's going to start drilling in other locations. So you saw a temporary down cycle, and now it's coming back up.
Yeah, we saw a hiatus. We actually saw our revenues came off on a sequential basis between 23 and 2022. So 2022 we peaked at 138 million USD. We did about 130, I think, for last year, and that was basically because of that decision to exit.
That's not that far off.
Well, it affected 3 quarters, and the decision to move away from one country into another is not a thing that happens overnight. It takes time, and also to secure the new works to replace that work, it takes time. And so,
out of the 130 that you did last year, how's the profitability off of that 130?
So 2023 was a challenging year for us from 2 points of view. One, that decision to exit one of the countries, but the other part of it was a chunk of our customers were, let's say, the type of customer that were beholden to the capital markets, okay? Juniors, intermediates. Yeah. And so we took a decision to move our marketing to Tier 1 miners. Why Tier 1 miners? Because they generate cash from mining operations and have no trouble at all paying their drilling bills. Whereas I think anyone that, you know, is capital markets or investment related would understand that it's a pretty tough out there trying to raise capital for mining operations. And so we saw it as very necessary to move our marketing to senior miners, and we've been very successful in doing that, which is, yet to be announced.
And that's why you think that you're going to see this next cycle of
revenue growth.
Yeah.
But also on the margin, our margins got beaten up last year because that a handful of customers who were struggling to pay us caused us an aging debtor problem. And so what happened was our auditors stepped in and said, hey, these guys they've been on the wrong side of 180 days for too long.
Right.
You're going to have to take a provision on this. So we took a paper loss in 2023. And, the weird thing about that is that these same people we're still drilling for, but we're keeping them on a short leash, if I can use that term. We're basically, they're paying us on a 7-day basis because they need the drilling and they still owe us money and they're actually paying. So we have no problem with that. Eventually that will probably show up on our balance sheet as a reversal. And but for now, what have we done to make sure we don't repeat that, have a recurrence of that, is we've moved our customer base from junior and intermediates to senior miners. And we're not having any trouble at all getting paid. So the aging debtor thing will sort itself out eventually. We're now starting to see the green shoots of these recently signed contracts. The grass shoots look really interesting. I'd say it's going to be a pretty good half.
So watch out for it. It's Geodrill. David Harper, thank you very much for being with us. It trades under the symbol GEODF, and watch for that catch up on the revenue from these new contracts that are coming in.
Yep.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.